Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we are going to finalize our top 100 games of all time by talking about our top 10 all-time favorite games.
All time.
So we've gone through, this is our 10th episode, so we've got 9 previous episodes. Be sure to check those out as well. Go to our channel, subscribe there if you haven't already, because we've got some great videos talking about our numbers 11 through 100, plus a bunch of other cool stuff there as well. Hilarious stuff. So be sure to check it out.
Hilarious. Great stuff.
All right, so what's funny about this top 10, and I guess kind of a little bit throughout our entire top 100, is a lot of the games that we enjoy because we play them with each other.
Yes.
And a lot of the games that we play together, we've really enjoyed.
Yeah. Funny how that works out.
And some of the more epic games rise to the top, and some of the more epic experiences rise to the top, and we've shared a lot of those epic, amazing experiences. So what's really funny is we've had a lot of crossover throughout our top 100 so far, and that's definitely going to show its head here today in the top 10 as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and kick things off. Be sure to, in the comments below, as we're talking about these games, be sure to put some comments down what you think about these top 10. Would they have made your top 10? What is your top 10? We would like to know that too. If there's games we haven't played or heard of yet, we'd love to put them on our wish list to play in the future.
Yeah. Or even if you don't know your complete top 10, just a couple of your all-time favorite games would work too. All right, ready?
Kicking things off, ladies first.
Thank you. My number 10 is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, The Thames Murders and Other Cases. I know Ryan had talked about this in one of his other sets of games. This is just such a fun one. You are trying to be Sherlock and solving this thing, but while we played this game, and it's all through those newspaper articles and things that you're reading, you're trying to deduce things. We decided to try to not even beat Sherlock and just explore the game, go talk to random people, fill in the gaps of a lot of things because there's secondary mysteries that you can solve in the game. We had such a great time with this. This is a game that we were able to play via Zoom or whatever during 2020 with friends of ours, and it was perfect. It was great. We finished the whole thing. I drank copious amounts of tea. It was lovely. like Ryan was talking about the experiences. We had great experiences. One of the funny things about this, I know I'm talking way too long about this one game, is we both had different editions of it. And so there were changes that happened. So it's the same game. It's just like an updated. We had the older one. They had the updated one. And so sometimes like something was like eliminated. We're like, we know that's not important anymore. Or if they added more, I'm like, well, that's important. That's definitely important. So it was really fun to see that.
All right, my number 10 favorite game of all time. This is Aquasphere from Stefan Feld. This is a heavier.
What?
I know Stefan Feld made an appearance. What do you know? And it's the only one I'm going to talk about today. I promise. It's the only Stefan Feld game I'm going to talk about today. So Aquasphere. This is a heavier game. You have so few actions. It's kind of a programming game where you have these little robots that you're programming to do your actions for you. But every turn you have a little. You either choose to program a new robot, or you can choose to take one of your robots you've already programmed and activate them. And you have to collect gems. You have to fight off these little octopod things that are attacking your station. You have to kind of build those different little scoring opportunities and efficiencies and set collections and all kinds of different stuff you have to do. But you have so few actions to do it. It's tense and it's wonderful. I love that light programming element to it. It scales well with all player counts, and the point structure ramps up really nicely compared to how cheap and easy things are to do. So it just has a really great balance to it that you don't see everywhere else.
My number 9 is Dominion, and this is like the granddaddy of deck builders. I understand that there are deck builders that came before it, but this is the game that made people think of deck builders, and when you think of the granddaddy of deck builders, you think of this game. We do not own all the expansions, but it doesn't even matter because we have infinite gameplay with the games that we do have. In this, you have 10 cards that you're drafting. You start with a weaker deck, and you're drafting cards for a stronger deck, and you are trying to get the most points at the end. It is just so solid. It's so great. It's one of the first adult games, I guess, we played with our eldest when she was maybe 6 or 7, as soon as she could read independently. And it was great to be able to do that. It was a great time.
My number 9, what do you know, is also Dominion. This is what I was talking about. This is one of the games that we both, fell in love with together, and so we have those shared experiences. I love this game. It is infinitely playable every time you play, even just the base game itself. I've played in app version. I've played the base game hundreds of times, literally, and never gotten bored of it. But you can also get all the different expansions on the app as well. I'm going to ignore that for a minute. Every time I break this out, this is one of the few games I love playing back to back to back. When I play a game, I generally don't like to play it. I love variety. So when I play a game, even if it's one of my favorite games, I play it once, I'm going to shelf it for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Not Dominion. When I play it, when it's out there, I've already got all the base cards out there. I just cycle out a few cards, add in a few cards, take out a few cards. I'll play it 3, 4, 5 times. We'll do a whole Dominion night and not get sick of it even for a second. And I know there are newer, snappier, more attractive deck builders out there these days, but I still feel like this has one of the most solid, pure deck building elements of all the deck building cards you've ever played. And I've played a lot.
Yeah.
It has this great turning point where you're just kind of building an engine, and then you're turning it over, flipping the switch to use that engine to buy victory points. I love that tension. I love that flipping point of if you buy too early, you're going to muddy up your deck, but if you go too late, you don't have enough points.
Yeah.
I love that tension. I never get sick of this game, and the more variety, the better.
All right, my number 8 is Pandemic Legacy Season 0, and I'm not going to give too many spoilers, only because it takes so long for us to play things or watch movies or read books that I feel like I need a decade. I think that's the new rule. Spoilers should only happen after a decade. That's Bethany's rule, because
for games or anything?
For everything.
Okay.
I do not get to things. We're at the stage in our life because of our children.
It's actually even longer for me. I would say, don't spoil things for me, period. Sixth Sense, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to spoil it for you.
I'll spoil that for you. Anyway.
My statute of limitations is way too long on that spoiler stuff.
So this is Season 0 for a reason. It's because the events in this game happen before Pandemic Legacy. So this happens before the first game. It's a prequel, basically. And it's really cool because you're a spy and you have these different identities. And different identities, you have different abilities with your identities. And you have to be in certain cities with certain identities. And it's really cool how this game plays out. There's a few more puzzles in this game that weren't in the other games, so it was really fun to play that. I just had a really great experience with this game. We did have a gap while we were playing where there was a chunk of time where we weren't able to play it, which totally sucked, but then we just got on and kind of just massive finished it, but it was a great experience.
My number 8, this is an old school train game. This is called Silverton. Silverton is kind of a big, long thing. There you can play a short version of the game, which is still 2 to 4 hours, it says, or you can play a long or campaign version of the game, which goes up to 9 hours. It says on the box. Of course, they don't tell you that right on the box. It tells you it in the rulebook. So when you first just look at the box, it says 2 to 9 hours for gameplay. You're like,
no,
that'd be awful to sit down and
not know what you're going to get.
But once you're actually playing, you know what you're getting into, which version of the game you're going to be playing. But if you've played 18xx style games, those old school market trade kind of building your route style games, that's there very much in that vein. It's an old school Mayfair game. I love those 18xx games, and we don't own any. But I've played a handful, and I like them all. But this does it better than all of them, I think. The way that the markets work, it's not a stock-based, it's more of a market-based thing with all these different goods that you're buying and selling and mining for and all this different stuff. Connecting all these routes because you want to sell it to, maybe the price of coal is in Pueblo, Colorado is more than it is in Phoenix or whatever the case is. So you're trying to create routes that you can sell all of your goods in various places. There's these winter routes that you can't go on during the winter, but then they're really lucrative during the other 3 seasons of the year. Oh my gosh, I set this up at least once or twice a year. I try to have a big game day where this is what we're doing, guys. We're blocking off our schedule. We are playing this massive old school train game. I never get sick of playing this thing. I will always keep on scheduling this annually. And I'll play other train games too, but this is the one to beat for me. I love Silverton.
All right, my number 7 is Genotype, a Mendelian genetics game. This is such a cool game. You are breeding pea plants, a Mendelian genetic square. That's what this game is all about.
Punnett Square.
Punnett Square. I said genetic square.
Yeah.
Punnett Square. So you're rolling these dice to try to get different traits for your bean plants that you're growing, and it's just such a cool game. Fun note, my boss recently checked this out from the library, and then they played it. Her and her son really liked it. And then her son was like, we should play that game again. And she was like, it's back at the library. I guess we're going to have to buy it because it's that great of a game. So this is just a really, really fun game. I have a great time when I'm playing it. I did attempt this game solo, and I didn't enjoy it solo because there's a ton of bookkeeping. And I like Ryan to do my bookkeeping. So I'll play this game with him.
Hey, no complaints from me. It's a good one. All right, my number 7. This is Kanban EV. If you've played Kanban, this is the very, very similar game, kind of updated, modernized, with fantastic art and components, and obviously the retheming slightly with the electronic vehicles. But at its core, everything matches up very, very well. You have this big automotive plant that you are kind of running, and you are trying to go through these different training in these different areas. You're trying to get designs, you're trying to get the parts, you're trying to build the things, then you're going to test them out, and you're going to race them. All these different things all over the board. You have this supervisor named Sandra who is roaming the board, and she is grading you and penalizing you or rewarding you.
Yeah, it's only
but mostly penalizing the way
depending on how you play, and that's how we play.
This game is phenomenal. I'm so happy that we have it. This is Lacerda, and Lacerda games are generally known for being very heavy, very robust, but at the same time being very satisfying. This is my favorite Lacerda game. I love Kanban EV. The Eno tool art pops so hard in this game. I have a hard time getting people to play it just because it is a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've taught it a lot of times so that my teach is actually pretty smooth, I think, and the gameplay, once you're in it, it's just really flows. It just kind of just keeps on changing where you're at, changing where you're going, changing what you're doing, and it just flows really well once you're in the thick of it.
Yeah, it really does. My number 6 is Firefly the game. Oh my goodness, this game is so fun. So you're in Firefly, the TV series, you're playing as some of those characters, and you're just going through the verse, playing the game. You're taking on cargo or contraband, and you're trying to deliver it. And this game has multiple games in it. So sometimes you're just trying to get the most money. Sometimes you need to do misbehave in these 3 places and then go to your base. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can play this game. And we have the expansion map. So when we get it out, it is huge, takes up all the space on the table, getting out all the TV trays for all the cards. This is a game it makes me a little sad because it doesn't get to the table because we have to plan it out. Like Ryan said with that game, we had to schedule this game. It's not a game that we're just going to pull off the shelf and play. But I always have a great time when I'm playing this game. I can admit that if Firefly were not the theme posted on it, it would probably still be on my top 100. I don't know if it'd be my top 10. I felt like the theme came through really well.
That's
the
fair.
Mechanics worked with that. But if it was just some random game and I didn't get all the little jokes, I don't know if it'd be my top 10. So I'm going to be completely honest about that. But it was a great merger of this IP that I really loved with a gameplay that I thought was very solid. And I always have a good experience. This is one of those games where I'm not really upset when I lose because I enjoyed the gaming experience.
Don't play with people who have analysis paralysis.
Oh my gosh, no.
Zaps the fun out of it. All right, my number 6. This is Trajan by Stefan Feld.
What?
Ooh, sorry guys, I
Your
lied.
top 20 was just like all him.
Trajan is wonderful. It's driven by this Mancala action selection thing. The Mancala is just so cool the way you manipulate it in order to pick what action you're going to do, been programming for the future, what actions you have available to you. You want to think ahead and give yourself some great options for the future, but you also need to react to what's going on the board a little bit too. You can't just think about only your own little board. If you do, you're going to lose out on some opportunities. But each action is kind of its own little mini game. You have kind of like a set collection, kind of a fishing market kind of style game. You have kind of an area control game. You have kind of a connected pathway game. You have all these little mini games. Each one of those actions does for you. So it is a true point salad style game, but you can choose which mini games you're going to kind of really dig deep into. You usually want to choose 2, 3, 4 of them to kind of really dig into. You can't ignore them all because you need them all, and you need to kind of program your mentality to use them all too. But this is one of the most clever games I've ever played, and it makes you feel clever when you play it, which I love.
My number 5 is Mystic Vale. This is another deck builder game. It's card creation. What do they call it?
Card crafting is the way it's...
Card crafting game. So in this game, you have a deck of cards, and your deck never gets bigger or smaller. It's that all of these decks are clear. So some of them don't have any cards in them. Some of them only have 1 card in them. That's how the game starts. And then as it's collecting, there's these 3 spots on your card, and you can draft other cards to go in there. So then it's doing other things based on what's there. You can only have there's only 3 spots in all of the cards, and sometimes you might have the 2 bottom spots filled, and the only card that you can afford is also a bottom spot, but you don't have a bottom spot available. You can't draft that card because it has to be available in order for you to draft it. This is one of the very few games I actually play quite regularly on my phone. I really enjoy this game. I could play it all the time. I just really like this game. I'm kind of surprised in myself that it beat out Dominion because Dominion is so solid, but I just enjoy this one just like that much more.
All right, my number 5 is The Castles of Burgundy, specifically the special edition, again by Stefan Feld.
Oh my gosh, Ryan, you have a problem.
I'm so sorry. I haven't got a problem.
You need to find like a Feld support group.
Come play games with me, Feld support group people. All right, so The Castles of Burgundy is an amazing game, just an amazing game. I have always loved it since the day we got it. It looked hideous. It was just a really ugly game. The new special edition takes that and ramps that up to 1 million. It's wonderful. Now it's gorgeous. It's one of our biggest boxes that we own, actually. And if we kind of went all in. We have like the nice play mat, the nice acrylic tiles, because we loved the base game so very much that when we told ourselves, if they ever make like a deluxe edition...
This is before they even started talking about it.
Right, this is before Awakened Realms had the rights or anything. This is before even they made this, like the anniversary edition.
Yeah.
We were just like, this game is so good, but it's so ugly.
It's drab to look at.
Cheap, thin pieces. If we ever make a deluxe edition in any way, we are in.
We're doing it.
And sure enough, we did, because we like it that much, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah. I think there's only 1 tier we didn't do, like the pre-painted or something.
The pre-painted minis, or like the washed minis. We had the washed castles, but not anything else, because there was no...
It would interrupt the gameplay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm not even getting into that, but basically this is a game where you're drafting tiles, and then once you have them, you put them onto your own personal player board. You're trying to... Each tile is a different thing, and you're trying to maximize your score by filling out your board as best as you can. The timing of when you buy tiles and place them is a really great risk-reward kind of a thing. The sooner you complete a little cluster, the more points you get. But the bigger cluster is, the harder it is to complete sooner, but the more points you get because it's bigger. So it's like it's a nice kind of trade on and off of the points. This is officially my favorite Stefan Feld game.
You heard it here.
Stamp on it.
This is the one.
This is the one, guys. This is the quintessential game for me. I think that every collection has this deserves a spot in almost every collection. And even if you aren't a collector, play it if you get a chance. It is wonderful.
All right.
I've said enough.
My number 4 is River Valley Glassworks. I loved this game so much. Like, the moment we played it, when we first learned it, or when I was teaching it to me, I knew I loved this game. And I immediately took it to work. And I played it multiple times on my lunch. And then we even had a mini game day this winter where we just invited a bunch of people to our house. And we're like, let's just play games all day. And guess what was the first game I played? This game. I had to teach it to people because everybody needs to know about River Valley Glassworks and how awesome this game is. The reason why it's super cool, I love games that have multi-use anything. And this game has multi-use stone pieces. So you're drafting these stone pieces into the glass, into the river, in order to draft the other stone pieces. So the shape matters for that. But once you draft them, it's the color that matters as you're putting them in your personal player board. I could play this game right now. This is like one of the few games that I am willing to play at any moment. Like, if I'm done, I'm ready to go to bed, I don't want to play any more games, and somebody's like, River Valley Glassworks, guess what? I'm staying up for another 20 to 40 minutes. It's
I need
just
to
happening.
take note because every time she tends to want to start heading towards the door earlier
Yes.
than I would like her to.
Yes.
This is I'm going to hook her back in.
This is the one to do that with. I absolutely love this game. I just really like this game.
I wonder if you like this game or not.
I do really like this game. Yeah.
All right, so Bethany earlier talked about Pandemic Legacy Season 0. My number 4, this is Pandemic Legacy Season 1. This is the first Legacy game I've ever played. Before it, there had been Risk, and I liked Risk, the original game, when I was a kid, but I never got into Risk Legacy. So Pandemic, I loved the original base game. I thought it was a really clever, puzzly, cooperative game. And then Pandemic Legacy came out, and we've got to try that, because we had a bunch of the expansions and things and loved them all. This felt great just as a game by itself. It starts off just like playing like Pandemic, right? And then it slowly starts adding in some little plot and adding in some kind of essentially little mini expansions effectively. And then the plot, pedal to the metal. You're hooked in the plot. You're hooked in the storyline. Yes. They did some great plot twists. Oh gosh, what a great game. What a great plot. By the tail end of it, we were just blown away. We were just like, I can't believe this is a masterpiece of a game design. I have no idea how they created it, tested it. I have no idea. They're geniuses. And on top of that, I want more. Yeah. So thankfully they came out with Season 2 and 0. But because this is now our first list, I've already talked about Season 1 and Season 2, or Season 0 and Season 2. Nothing beat that first high of playing Season 1 with our game group. It was an amazing experience. I highly recommend it. If you like cooperative games and you like narrative games, this is one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Yeah.
As you can tell, it's in my top 4 gaming experiences I've ever had.
My number 3 is Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle Earth. And this is a storytelling exploration game. You're going about as characters from Middle Earth and you're exploring this board. But my favorite story about this is when we set it up to play. We played that one round and we're like, wow, this is really cool. And then we decided to play it again with my brother. And so we just sat down to play. And we're just playing for a little bit. And then I'm like, I am so hungry. Why am I so hungry? It ends up, I was so hungry because we had been playing for 5 hours straight. And I had no idea. I was so immersed in what was happening in the game of trying to figure out what we want to do, that I didn't even know that 5 hours had happened. Like, mind blown. It was just that immersive. It drew me in. It was a great experience. I just like that story. It's just such a great story of how the game took me in. And it has an app component, and I really like that because it just does all of the bookkeeping for you. It doesn't do any of the game for you. It just like I said, keeps all the bookkeeping for you, so you can even fully immerse because nobody has to GM it because the app does that. You can just be in the game. Great experience.
All right, my number 3 game, this is Ark Nova. Ark Nova is this wonderful, charming game about building a zoo, but I've played other zoo games that were all much lighter, much more, I don't know, they were just a lot more simpler in terms of rule sets.
Yeah.
This is a lot heavier of an experience. I still wouldn't call it heavy. I would just call it involved and thinky, and it's a little bit longer. But the payoff is so good. I actually just played it again this past weekend, and I taught it to a new friend, and he texted me as soon as we were done. We played it in the morning hours, and he texted me as soon as we were done, and he left, and he said, you wouldn't have to twist my arm terribly hard to play that again tonight if you're free. Because it's that kind of a game. It's so good. There's this score track of kind of how well your zoo is doing, kind of the ticket sales, basically. There's another score track that tells you how much conservation efforts you have going on. A lot of zoos have, conservation efforts. But the way that the end game scoring works is where those two tracks meet and then pass each other. So it doesn't matter if you do a little bit of tickets and a whole lot of conservation, or a little bit of conservation, a whole lot of ticket sales. It doesn't matter as long as you are kind of racing to get them to meet. That's the game ends trigger. There's so many different cards. It's a huge stack of cards you shuffle with, but it's just one stack, which is nice. And then there's animals, there's conservation efforts, and there's these different kind of other cards that you kind of give you special abilities and other things that you can add into your zoo as well. I never get sick of this. I have a constant standing game of this going on BGA with some friends, and every time it's my turn, I get excited. It's like, it's just, I get to play Ark Nova. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to set this up. The action selection is cool. The upgrading of your actions is cool. The animals are cool. The scoring is cool. There's no part of this game that isn't cool. I love it.
Yeah. My number 2 is Pandemic Legacy Season 1. Ryan just talked about this game. And it is true. It's the first experience we had with the Legacy game, and it was a great experience. It definitely had me hooked on the concept of Legacy games. I want my grubby little hands on every single Legacy game I can find. But there was an event that happened in this game about a third of the way through, maybe?
Yeah, somewhere.
Something happened in the game and it messed with me like on an emotional level. And I remember being at work the next day being all like, I can't believe that happened. And I couldn't explain to people at work that I'm really down because of this thing that happened in a game I was playing. But I was. They did such a great job that it affected me on an emotional level. And like Ryan mentioned earlier, I would love to see some type of, I don't know, there's probably nothing recorded of it, but I would watch like a documentary on the creation of this game, of how you did it, how everybody experienced it. You know what I'm talking about when I'm saying that thing happened in this game, and everybody experienced it, and how they made it, how they manipulated us into making sure that happened, because the game didn't start like that. We added something, and everybody did the same thing. Everybody had that same experience. How did you design that? I'd be really interested in hearing or seeing a documentary or reading a very long article on the design process of this game, because I'm just so curious about how you do that, and you do that so effectively.
Yeah, even what little bit of game design I've been reading about, like, this is so far beyond that.
Yeah.
The playtesting must have been absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Truly a feat. That's why, again, we talked about those shared experiences. We did this together, and that's why it was so high for both of us. And guess what? It's not over yet, because my number 2 is The Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. Again, experience that we shared together. What a smooth game. Again, a cooperative, immersive experience. I think that I love just narrative games anyways, especially narrative games that don't, like, require me to have to do anything coming up with the narrative. I love that those kinds of games exist. They're just not for me. And this gave me
Not for us.
This did that for us. It put us in that world of Middle-earth, and that's the theme in a world that we really, really love. But the gameplay was also really solid and very challenging. We love hard co-ops, and this was very tough. And I was worried. I'd heard people talk about how it's not true canon of the Lord of the Rings events. Okay, sure, maybe not, but it's still fun. You still get to be some of your heroes and those different things from the Lord of the Rings, and just go crazy and have fun exploring. All the exploring was done through the app, so again, you didn't have to have all these different kind of one person running it and be like, okay,
yeah,
so
exactly.
Because based on this scenario, let me check the book. This one says, okay, because you flipped over this tile and this particular message, you put out this dude and this dude, and okay. No, it did all that for us. I've heard people not liking apps and board games integrating, and I definitely would say, if you're one of those people who doesn't like that, try this one, because this might change your mind. This does a really great job of blending the digital and the analog in a great way to make us feel very, very satisfied.
All right, we are here at number 1, and you know what? I think it would be really special if we did our number 1s at the exact same time.
Are you ready?
Okay, yeah, I'm going to count down. 3, 2, 1.
Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated. I called it early. We have these shared experiences of these big epic games. This is the quintessential example of that. This is both of our number 1 favorite game because of the way we played it and the great design of it.
Yes, and we had talked about when we first started making this list that these games are under perfect conditions with the right people. That's how we're assuming that's what it is with all of this, and that is 100% what happened with this game. We played with the perfect group of people. It was so hilarious. We got into the text when you're reading what's happening in the story as it's growing out. We had different voices.
We played all the voices and all the dialogue and gave them all voices. And the narrative gave you so many fun little kind of choose your own adventure style choices. Some of them probably didn't even matter. They were just so you could put this sticker, or this sticker down. Who knows? We don't know because we didn't. Yeah. Well, we do know a little bit because we did cheat and went backwards after we were done. But the point was, it did such a great job of just putting you in there and giving you those choices and making you feel like you were in control of your destiny. And it was just hilarious. The dialogue was so fun and so funny. Yes. And
it was still a competitive game. All of our other legacy games that were on our list have all been cooperative. This is the first one where it wasn't. It wasn't cooperative, but it was still so much fun. Because you got, like, scored at the end of everything, depending on what happens. There's cards that you had that would come up, like, 2 or 3 games later.
And if you're not familiar with what Clank as a base game it's a deck building game. It's kind of a dungeon crawl. Basically, you're going to go down, you're going to get some treasure, and you're going to try to escape with whatever treasure you can get. The longer you stay down there getting more and more treasure, the riskier it is to have enough time to get back up and escape. But that's kind of how Clank itself works. And Clank Legacy did the same thing, but with all these different twists and turns and narratives that were absent from the original game. And that's what made this so special. And I think Clank even made both of our top 100s earlier on. Yes. And that's because Clank itself is a solid game. Just like how Pandemic is a solid game, which made it a great foundation for Pandemic Legacy. Yes. Clank itself was a great foundation for...
You were building off great stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So Clank Legacy... Oh my goodness, it was so much fun. It created so many hilarious moments and inside jokes and things like that. It turns out there's a season 2 or a sequel, whatever you want to call it, that's come out. We don't have our hands on it yet, but you better believe that as soon as our local store puts it in stock, I am scooping it up. We're getting that same group together again, and we are doing it up big because I loved it.
Oh gosh, it's so good. I just have such great memories, great feelings.
It was worth it to have to schedule it out because we all had different varied lives going on at the time, and still do, and always will. Yeah. But it was worth it. The anticipation of getting together and playing, it made us want to schedule and want us to get together because... Oh, gosh, we just laughed so much.
I think we're really lucky with a lot of these legacy games because 50% of the schedule we don't have to figure out.
Right.
Yeah, I think other people have to do legacy games and they can only control like 25 or 20% of their schedule. I understand how that can be very difficult, so we're really lucky with the fact that 50% in all of our 4-player games is already figured out.
And you could probably play it 2-player, but I just think that you're going to want to play it 4.
Yes. Oh, gosh. I just it's one of those games that if you haven't played it yet, I'm so excited that you get to experience this for the first time. Like, I'm just so excited for you that you get to do that. That's how great this game is, or at least that's how great it was for us.
All right, you guys, so that's going to wrap things up. We just finished our top 100 games of all time. As you saw, those kinds of longer legacy style or campaign style games kind of rose to the top. Not all of them, but the best of the best ones did. Yeah. Because those experiences were unforgettable and super memorable. And obviously lots of Stefan Feld. Nothing wrong there.
Lots of Stefan Feld. But still, as always, we want to hear from you. Are there any on our top 10 that you think would make your top 10? What were some of your favorite games of all time? Do you have any games that would be on your top 10 purely because of the experiences or the people that you played with? We want to hear from you.
Do you want to send us a free copy of Clank Legacy Season 2?
Oh my gosh, right?
We want to hear from you.
No, don't do that.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. This has been a blast making this. Thanks for asking for this and then watching it along with us along the way. It's been a lot of fun, and maybe if we get to another higher subscriber count, we'll do it again in a couple of years. So
sure,
we'll see how that goes.
10,000.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You guys, thanks for watching our shenanigans. As always, we appreciate it. Over here, if you follow this link, you're going to find a playlist we've handcrafted just for you because you watched this video.
And if you check over here, this is a video that YouTube thinks you might like. So you can check that out if you want as well.
All right, we appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.